All right, man, we're going to talk shoes.
Oh, favorite topic, best topic. I'm actually barefoot right now. You can't see me from the waist down, but I thought it'd be appropriate given the topic at hand.
I'm in socks. I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
before we start and we get into the serious business, I'm going to expose you to an informal poll that I took on my Instagram today. I want to see where you fall, okay?
Well, hold on. Yeah, I'd love that. But just to be a bit of a pedant on the internet, is there such a thing as a poll that is not informal? I mean, really? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Think about
I
it.
mean, I'm sure the comments will let us know.
How much stock can you put into any poll? Anyway, I digress. I'll get off my high horse.
Got the census
what do
man
we got?
knocking on my door. What would be your number one choice between these three things?
Okay.
Pancakes, waffles, or French toast?
Oh, easy choice. French toast, waffles, pancakes in that order.
Okay.
I've had that order since I was probably 10 years old, and when given the option, that's the way they rank out every single time.
Just so you know, this is how the data shook out.
Yeah.
Pancakes
I don't care because they're wrong.
Pancakes received 41% of the vote, followed number 2 by French toast with 30%. And then in third position was waffles with 27%, really close to French toast. If anyone's doing the math, that only comes out to 98%. And that's because I did have a fourth option, which was, I don't like any of them, I'm a psycho. And 2% chose that one.
I mean, number one, if you're in that 2%, I mean, geez, I don't know what to tell
I
you.
blocked them. I blocked them immediately.
Yeah, it's good. That's the right move. And second, I mean, you can't trust the masses. I think this is further evidence that you can't go with it. Everybody knows French toast is the superior choice. End of story.
French toast is so good. I would say if they all have to be plain, like I can't fancy them up in any way, it is what it is with some syrup, then I'm going French toast number 1, pancakes number 2, waffles number 3. If I can have like some chocolate chip pancakes, which then just turn into a monster chocolate chip cookie, that's going to rearrange my order. But that's,
But I mean, you can play that same game with French toast, right? I mean, there's so many decadent ways to, my goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, French toast is strong. Okay. This running shoe question, first of all, we should let everyone know, well, I should always be a professional. Okay, everybody, hey, look, support the show. We love all of you, and you do a great job with it. If you'd love to support the show, go to very.random.com. Check out the cycles that we offer. First, strict pull-up, ring dip, handstand walk, toes to bar, ring muscle up. There's barbell work. There's a running program. Basically, your entire life will just flourish if you go there, so check that out. Then if you own a gym, any kind of gym, btwb has you covered for all the stuff that you need, that behind-the-scenes stuff that's mission critical, gym management, billing, workout tracking. They got an all-in-one. So if you're interested in that as a gym owner, go to btwb.com/all-in-one. Okay. This came about, first of all, let everyone know, we're not official shoe doctors. I didn't go to school for shoes. I'm not a shoeologist, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Me either, surprisingly.
We've been working out for a long time. We've had a lot of interesting conversations with people from all around the world, et cetera, et cetera. Done my fair share of running, both voluntary and involuntary in my life, short, medium, long distance. And it's just a classic thing in CrossFit. People are super passionate about their shoes. And this came about through two different things. It's number one, I'll hear a question every now and then from a random CrossFitter that's like, look, hey, does anyone ever swap out shoes in a run? Like maybe something it's Helen, and you get 300 or 400 meter runs. Okay, I can do that in almost anything, right? Well, now we're talking, it's Michael, and I'm going to have 3 800 meter runs. Is that a different decision? Well, what about if it's Murph? I got a mile where, is there a distance where somebody swaps shoes? That started a shoe conversation. And then somebody posted the other day, we had a running thruster pull-up workout. It was terrible. Just had 400 meter runs in it, 3 of them. But this individual said, when faced with a workout like today, running and lifting in the same workout, which that's like all the time in CrossFit, do you go with a running shoe or do you go with a cross-training shoe? Today I used Nanos and I felt like I was running in dress shoes. That's what they said. So that kind of sparked the topic here for us just to chat about shoes.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's funny because at its heart, I'm very much a minimalist. I guess at my heart, I'm very much a minimalist, and I kind of have a knee jerk to conversations around this, if I'm honest, because I'm like, ugh, it shouldn't make that much difference, But when
it does.
but when I'm pressed to think about it a little bit, I think, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that if you're doing a single modality, long effort, and you have the knowledge that that is going to beat you up a little bit and you want to continue training in the week, yes, using something as a training aid to make sure that you don't get unnecessarily beat up from that long distance run so you can do more things later in that same block of training, that makes a ton of sense. But the further I go down that rabbit hole, I'm like, well, why are you getting beat up in the first place? What is it that about that distance that is so taxing on your body that you can't turn around and do something the next day or several days after? Mm-hmm. And to me, that kind of speaks to this idea that running is a technical element, but most people don't regard it as one at all. And so when I peel back the layers of the onion, that's where I kind of come down to is like, okay, well, how much running technique do you have? Mm-hmm. And I'm not even going to endorse any specific technique on that, because there's, like lifting, there's many different approaches that can get you to the top of the mountain. But at its heart, you have to have some thought behind how are you running and what is the toll that you are getting from that running as a result of that. We were just talking off camera a little bit about Randy, who's the workout that you guys just had for Linchpin. I just did Randy inadvertently for the service cup. I did it with a police officer friend of mine. And we were talking about, hey, you have a choice to make in that workout. Are you going to rip start? I think your words, are you going to rip start a lawnmower for 75 reps, or are you going to try to keep your back straight and use your legs and all of the things that you should? Because that's going to have a profound effect on what you're going to feel like the next day. And running is no different. And so sometimes I think that people want to hear the answer that, like, yeah, you should use whatever shoe gets you through it, without having to address something that may be more of a technical deficiency. So roundabout way to say that at the end of the day, I don't know, man, there's tons of different running shoes that can be appropriate. What is it masking if you need a different shoe for every single aspect of CrossFit?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, no doubt the technique thing is huge. And I agree. It's one of those ones where, and I'm guilty as charged as well, of not paying enough attention to my running technique as I should. Like I certainly am more cognizant of like how I'm moving when I grab a barbell than when I head out the door in the 400. I know that I am, for being really honest about myself. What I'm curious, and I don't know if we're going to solve any of the world's problems during this talk, but what I hope is that I think this topic is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. Shoes, what type of shoe, running position, posture, technique, all that.
People love shoes, Pat.
I hope that this fills the comments with people's opinions, because I actually am very interested to hear, as we said, you can always trust the masses, right, on a good poll as to what they're saying out there. This was also sparked because for years, largely since getting involved with CrossFit, I mean, if we go back in the Wayback Machine in like the Chuck Taylor days, where like board shorts and Chuck Taylors, I did many a workout running in Chuck Taylors, and I'm fine. My knees are fine, all that, blah, blah, blah. And then post that, people who know me, hopefully they wouldn't call me cheap. I think frugal is a kinder word to call how I live my life. But I couldn't tell you the last time I bought running shoes. I really couldn't. It's been over 15 years probably, because just I'm fortunate and blessed that a lot of times if I'm doing stuff, I get some gear. Like it just is how it's worked out for a long time. And I've got enough running shoes and workout shoes in my closet that I'm not going to have to buy shoes for a while. And so my favorite shoe is whatever was free. And I use that, and whatever the distance is, I go out and do it. And that's been various brands over the year based upon whoever had a relationship with somebody and they crossed my path. So I've run all kind of different stuff, but none of them were classic running shoes. They were all, quote unquote CrossFit shoes, cross training shoes, mixed modality shoes, things like that. And I would do 5 or 10K runs in that. However, for this last Christmas, and I just got around to using it right now, I received a gift certificate to like our local specialist running store. And it was a very generous gift certificate. And so I forgot that I had it and found it like a month ago. Went down there and man, they did the whole shebang like I've never been a part of. And I posted about this experience on my Instagram and be like, did I get scammed or is what I just went through like legitimate? And people were so divided. It's kind of what sparked this as well. I went in, of course they wouldn't just sell me shoes. I let down my guard as like a cynical New Englander. And I'm like, I'm going to be a more open kind of a West Coast person and just be open to the whole, I'm going to drink in the whole experience. Yeah. And so they wanted me to stand.
Very progressive of you, Pat.
Thank you. They wanted me to like stand on this like magic plate to, analyze, get a 3D image of both my feet. And then I had to walk on this mat and my stride length and the pressure points of my feet were all, they showed me it on an iPad. It was very whiz-bang amazing. Based upon that data, certain shoe decisions were made. And of course, the insoles that came with them aren't good enough. So these custom insoles had to be, again, I had a gift card. I would never pay for this on my own. And I did the whole thing. And I bought these actual like running shoes. They're not CrossFit shoes. I wouldn't climb a rope in them because they would disintegrate. They're a pair of Brooks Ghosts running shoes, which I was unfamiliar with, but when I posted them, people were like, that's like one of the most popular running shoes in the world. So whether they did this analysis or not, that's probably one of the ones they would have brought out. Like, did you? So I'm very curious to hear from that experience from people, did I get scammed or not? And then number two, since I've got these things for about the last month, I've been using them and I haven't had like a big cushy pair of running shoes on my feet in forever and ever. And I did them for just runs. I did them in the mixed modality, like thruster 400-meter run workout the other day. They were like, it's like I duct taped 2 pillows to the bottom of my feet when I ran. And I'm here to tell you, it was a glorious experience. Like I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. But it's a lot easier for me to just smack my heels into the ground and not even notice because I got these big Cadillacs on my feet, man. So it was an interesting experience. Have you slid into a pair of the big cushy running shoes in a while?
Not really. We, the previous sponsor for the games, we had a couple of different styles, and the ones that I ended up wearing for a lot of our longer events were quite cushioned just because you're on your feet for 12, 14 hours at a clip sometimes. And the kind of thin-soled trainers were pretty rough for those longer engagements like that. So I have done a couple workouts in shoes like that, but I'll tell you, to me, moving in a straight line, it felt pretty good. But anytime I was moving, even, just moderately not in a straight line, I felt like I was going to fall off of this platform that I was on. And that was not a good feeling in my mind. So
wouldn't be good for like agility.
Yeah, I did not enjoy that sensation. Although, they were admittedly feet saving for those longer stretches that I ended up being on my feet. I'll also say that, and you kind of spurred my thinking around this too, and so did the previous comment there around mixed mode. Because that's what we're going to be doing as bread and butter in CrossFit workouts. And to me, I think that kind of further highlights this utilitarian approach that I think people should be considering, not only with their shoe choice, but just in terms of their general preparedness. You know what I mean? Like if it is really going to make that much difference to you, whether you're wearing shoe A or shoe B, and whether you have to climb a rope and do a little bit of lifting in the same session, then again, I think there's probably other refinements that you need to make so that those choices aren't as significant. I feel pretty strongly around that like if you have to really think strongly about, man, I can't wear shoe A because I've got to run and lift, well, maybe there's something in that, I don't know, that's indicative of something deeper. Now, I'll go back on what I said a little bit, and I can make the case that, okay, if you're only doing a single modality and you want to have a specific shoe for that, fine. I don't think it's necessary. However, I can see the utility in it. And that's true for lifting. If you're going to lift, you want to bust out a pair of lifters, I get it. If you're going to go for, a 2-hour run and you want to bust out a pair of trail runners, I get it. If you're going to do gymnastics and you want to slip on some slippers so they're not weighing you down, like I get it, But when we're talking about the application of a broad fitness and we start thinking about, okay, what am I going to be able to do and what's going to hinder me across a range of activities, if the conversation hinges on your shoe choice, I think you might have bigger fish to fry. That again, I guess getting back to my central point, may be masked by the shoe. And I think that's something that you want to investigate. You know, at the end of the day, again, I'm kind of old school in my approach. I feel, I'm a staunch supporter that people should just be able to make the decision to show up to any affiliate anywhere in the world or any garage anywhere in the world, not know the workout, come as they are, and be able to perform generally well without any sort of like, oh, I forgot item X in my gym bag. Mm-hmm. And that should be something that the majority of the people, the majority of the time, are comfortable with, even if that's not their preferred way to train.
Yep. I mean, for sure, like I said, for years, that was the shoe that I wore. Like, you know, again, whatever was free, and whatever was free was something which was a CrossFit style shoe. It doesn't matter if it's rope climbs, doesn't matter if it's running, doesn't matter if it's whatever, and all good. It was an interesting experience just to, after so long, I mean, like literally more than a decade, to have to slip on, like I said, these just, like I slipped 2 sofas onto the bottom of my feet and just ran. It was incredible.
How did the thrusters feel?
Not bad. That was what I was really curious about. Like, you know, there's a teeny little bit of squish, but but it was a good day of thrusters. Like everything felt just fine. Boz, you know my squats are rock solid mechanics. You know, the footwear is not going to matter. I could do that thing on a Busu ball. I was kidding.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, especially now, right?
Right. No, actually, it felt pretty good. You know, because once I got my stance and I was planted, it was good to go. You know, if it was like a super heavy back squat or a super heavy deadlift or something, then I think I would feel more what you said, like that roll or that instability. I think that would become quite obvious under a more significant load, but with a pair of 50-pound dumbbells, like it was okay. Like it was all good. And I will say, getting back to your earlier point about technique, one of the things that I can say undoubtedly now, after having these wonderful running shoes on my feet after years, is it is obviously so much easier to pay even less attention to how I'm running, because, you know, if I'm chasing my daughter across the driveway in the front yard and we were playing on the grass like we're barefoot, and I run across my driveway barefoot, I am not heel striking as I run across my driveway. That's a horribly painful thing. Like I'm definitely, you know, midfoot on the toe. Like it's just, it changes. If I run across the driveway in those shoes that I just bought, I can do anything that I want, and I have absolutely no idea how my foot is hitting the ground. It beats me. I feel nothing. And so I think, you know, those two could be tied as well. As there's definitely a dulled sensation, and that's going to just turn your mind off a little bit more. And so if mechanics and technique and all that is something that maybe you do need to focus on, that big set of cushy running shoes probably isn't going to be your friend in trying to keep your mind engaged what your foot's actually doing when it hits the ground.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I'll say about that is I'm kind of interested in that, I guess, snippet of a comment in there about, I felt like I had, what was the line? I felt like I had dress shoes on or something.
That's what that gentleman said. Yeah. It looks like he was running in dress shoes.
Yeah, that's how I feel with most running shoes, if I'm honest. You know, I many years ago came from a gymnastics background, did acrobatics for a time. So maybe that's just kind of the way that I came up. I rock climbed when I was younger as well. And so like a really small, flexible, lightweight shoe is always where I feel more comfortable than even what is purported to be a minimalist shoe now. I find that most of the quote minimalist shoes on the market are still pretty beefy, and a lot beefier than I might reach for if I was given the choice. So yeah, it is. I mirror that phrase, although it is kind of interesting that they feel that way around like something like a Nano versus, you know, a running shoe.
I think it would depend personally whether it's the Nano, the Metcon, the whatever. Like fill in the blank with your favorite shoe, right? Like there was an evolution of how many different variants of each one of those shoes. Like you remember early on, they were like, oh, we forgot about the rope climbs, and they get disintegrated by rope climbs. Then there was like inside the shoe something more durable put in, and then for a while, like, so some of those iterations, let's say that it was the drop, right? You're talking minimalist, like from the heel to the to your toes, like that drop is what's going to signify whether it's like, is it zero drop? Is it more of a minimalist style? Is it more the big cushy where there's a huge difference between your heel off the ground, your forefoot? Well, those, they became more, not quite a zero drop, but a smaller deviation between the front. But then also I think there was a big discrepancy in the evolution of those between, you could have the same drop from front to back, but some of those soles were like concrete because they, I think, overdid it for like how durable they were on boxing, and they had like zero give. And other ones had the same quote unquote drop from front to back, but they were a little more forgiving. And like I could see running in, depending upon the evolution, one of those that almost sounds like you're running down the street in tap shoes. And then, something else that has, again, a similar style shoe, but there's a bit more squish. They're not squishy, but just a bit more, that they're still durable for rope climbs. You can still do whatever you want, but they have just this appropriate amount of give that when you run, you're like, this feels actually like I can do everything in this shoe. And so I think there's been quite a significant evolution in that as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're absolutely right. The last thing I'll say is, it's funny you mentioned Chuck Taylors. I actually have a knockoff pair of Chucks that I wear. I think I got Instagrammed, the targeted ads on Instagram, and I bought a pair of knockoff
The algorithm
Chucks.
gotcha.
For sure. Admittedly, yes. And I've had them for a couple of years now, and they're great. I think they're made out of like recycled plastic or something. So they're not the traditional canvas that can get kind of stinky and weird.
Okay.
And they've lasted me for several years now. And I will say that I probably work out in those 90% of the time. And when I travel, they are the shoe that I bring because they look decent with a pair of jeans, and I'm comfortable working out in them regardless of what we're doing. If we're lifting, fine. If we're doing, gymnastic stuff, they're fine. I can run CrossFit distances in them, no problem. I've run 5Ks in them. It's no big deal.
Like the wind.
To me, I don't know about that. Not these days, Pat. But the job gets done, and I don't feel any worse for wear, and I don't feel like I've got a pair of tap shoes on. So.
Yep. No, I really enjoy a good mixed modality CrossFit style shoe. Admittedly, I've never had a set of Nike Metcons on my feet because.
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
Just because I never had the opportunity to get a pair free. But I've had, the other ones on, and they treat me fine. That's what I wear every darn time when I walk into my garage. Although I've been playing with these shoes, that I just had the gift card for. And then just to hopefully fuel some comments and some passion in the comments, I'll tell you,
boy.
After I went through all the experimentation and the wizardry with the gadgets for them to check out my feet, they brought out 3 different brands of shoes that I tried on, walked around in and all that, and then made the decision. And so let's see if this ignites any passion with people. One of them was the Brooks, the Ghost that I just said, which is what I wound up going home with. The other one was, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I see them everywhere. They're Hoka, Hoka. Like, you see them everywhere, and they got the name's huge on the side. You can't miss it. I tried those on. They were profoundly comfortable. I'll go ahead and tell you that. But I looked like a clown when I wore them. I'm not super tall, only 5'8", but my foot's like an 11.5. So that shoe is a big shoe. You could see them from space. So I'm like, I can't do these. These look ridiculous, even though they were so comfortable. And the other set was a set of Asics. And it looked as though Asics set out to make the most dumb-looking shoe in the face of the earth. So I couldn't do that, even though I like Asics historically. And so I landed with the Brooks. They looked good, they felt good, walked out the door with them. And yeah, so hopefully this sparks some passionate debate.
Oh, I'm sure it will. People love their shoes, and they love to plant their flag.
Remember when the Vibram 5 fingers were everywhere?
I had a mental note to try to bring those up as just like, a glib response. Well, the ultimate shoe, as we all know, is the Vibram 5 finger. I mean, that's it. End of story.
Do you know anyone who actually embraced like hardcore barefoot running or serious minimal wearing basically nothing on your foot kind of a deal? I know one person.
I've brushed up against a few of these people, but I don't know a lot of them. Who are you thinking of?
Ian Wittenberg.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Ian day in and day out wore,
That's right.
the most minimalist, it was maybe just an actual piece of leather and nothing else on the bottom of his foot. And then I saw him work out. I worked out with him so many times that I was shoed, if you will, and he was unshoed, you know, just barefoot, running, box jumps. I mean, there'd be times we'd run around a parking lot. I could feel under my shoe me stepping on like a piece of gravel. I'm like, I know this guy has to be stepping on gravel every now and then, not a peep out of him. So maybe it's a mental toughness thing as well. But it was
the body adapts, Pat.
Yeah, he's the only person I know. So I'm very curious. So let's hear it, everybody. Normal, traditional running shoes. What's the deal with zero drop, minimalist, barefoot running? What's the best shoe? Go ahead, not drop the name brand. I want to hear everyone's 2 cents, and I also want to hear, did I get scammed when I walked into the running shoe? Do I have a class action lawsuit?
I don't know, man. I feel like if you got a gift card, can you get scammed? Is that
that's what it was like a spa day. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody. Again, if you've got more topics, ideas, whatever it is for a future show, please post those in the show notes. Find this show on the btwb YouTube channel. Let us know your thoughts on this topic. And again, any ones for future shows. We appreciate you. For Adrian Bosman, I'm Pat Sherwood, and we'll see you next time.